I knew it wasn't my life from the second I opened my eyes. The ceiling was too low, the sheets smelled like someone else, and the sound outside the window, traffic, dogs, people shouting, wasn't from any neighborhood I'd ever lived in. I sat up slowly. My body responded, but wrong. Taller, heavier. I looked down at my hands. No scars. Different skin tone, shorter nails. This wasn't mine. The panic didn't hit right away. I was too numb, too tired, like my mind had been poured into someone else's head and hadn't settled yet. I stumbled into the bathroom. The lights were flickering, buzzing faintly. The mirror above the sink was cracked diagonally through the center. I looked at the face staring back. Not mine. Younger, maybe late 20s. Buzzed hair, sharp jaw, eyes like a cornered animal. I blinked. The reflection didn't. I flinched, stepped back. The reflection moved a second later. Lagging. I told myself I was dreaming. Lucid, vivid, layered, but still a dream. I've had weird ones before. But when I reached for the faucet and turned it, the water came out cold. Real. When I looked at the floor, I saw dust. Not visual placeholder dream dust. Actual buildup. Lived in. Abandoned feeling. There were sounds outside the door. Footsteps. A voice. "You up, man?" A man's voice. Calm. Familiar. Like I was supposed to know it. I opened the door. He looked at me and laughed. "You look like you saw a ghost." I stared at him. Couldn't speak. My throat felt dry and hollow. He slapped me on the back. "Coffee's on the stove. You've got that meeting at noon. Don't forget." He walked off like nothing was wrong. Like I was him. I checked the kitchen. The apartment was small, cluttered. A calendar on the fridge. My name, his name, scribbled in marker. Jason, draft due /12, PM meeting /Matt. My phone was there. No password. Opened instantly. Dozens of texts, photos, reminders. My face. Or rather, his face. But it smiled exactly like I do. Same smirk, same squint. In one video, I heard myself laugh, and it broke me. Because it wasn't me, but I recognized it too well. That night I tried to wake up, took sleeping pills, slammed my head into the wall, poured ice water down my back. Nothing. I closed my eyes and opened them. Same apartment, same body, same reflection, still lagging behind. But something was different now. On the table, there was a notebook. I hadn't seen it before. It was already open, with fresh handwriting in the middle of the page. Just one line. "I was you once. You don't get to go back." I flipped back pages, more writing, different dates, different voices. He came to me in a dream, said he was lost. I gave him my life. Now I can't get it back. He's stronger than you think. Don't trust the mirror. It listens. The entries grew more erratic, sloppier. One was just a smear of ink and fingerprints. Then nothing for pages. Until the final entry. "If you're reading this, it means I failed too." I tried to write something, my name, anything. But the pen wouldn't work. Not out of ink, the paper just wouldn't take it. Like it only absorbed words from certain people. Or minds. That night, I slept again. When I opened my eyes, I was still here. Still. Jason. And this time, he was waiting for me. In the living room. Sitting in the chair. Legs crossed. Calm. Polite. My face. The real one. He smiled. "You're adapting faster than I did." I froze. "What is this?" "You ever hear the theory," he said, "that dreams are just doors without locks? Most people walk through and forget what they saw. Some people, like you or me, we don't forget." He stood up. Same height, same building, my voice, my posture. I found you by accident. I didn't mean to stay, but your life was quiet, familiar, clean. I want it back, I said. You can't. It's mine now. You're in the overflow. I didn't understand. The what? He walked over to the cracked mirror, tapped it. This is where we go when we don't wake up properly, when the mind separates too far from the anchor. You stole me. He turned. You opened the door. I just walked in. I lunged at him. He vanished before I made contact. The apartment fell silent again. The next morning, someone knocked. I opened the door. It was a woman, mid-30s, nervous smile. You ready? For what? She blinked. The interview. You emailed me last night. I followed her, said nothing. We walked to an office space where they welcomed me, shook my hand, called me Jason. I smiled, laughed, played along. Every action felt like someone else had done it already, and I was just repeating the shadow. And when I came home, the notebook was gone. But the mirror was clean now. No crack, no delay. I smiled into it, and it smiled back immediately. I didn't try to wake up after that. I just kept moving, kept pretending. It was easier than fighting. The life of this man, Jason, was already shaped, already waiting for me to slip into it like a well-worn coat. People waved to me on the street. Emails came in with half-finished threads I somehow knew how to answer. Memory didn't return like a wave. It leaked in, one drip at a time, and none of it was mine. At least I didn't think it was. The worst part was how familiar everything started to feel. Muscle memory that wasn't mine. A laugh that came out without thinking. By day 4, I had started calling myself Jason without flinching. By day 5, I couldn't remember my real phone number. And by day 6, I stopped checking the mirror. Then the note came, slid under the door in the middle of the night. No sound, no knock. One line. You're not the only one in overflow. I stepped out into the hallway. Nothing. No one. Just that soft buzzing sound this place always had, like electricity behind plaster. Like a whisper you can never quite catch. I read the note again. Not the only one. I didn't know what the overflow was yet, but I felt it. Like standing on a floor that's hollow under the carpet. Like reality was thin, unfinished. Like the dream wasn't completely loaded. I walked to the mirror in the hall, stared at myself. Jason's face. Perfectly still. Who else is here? I whispered, and the mirror twitched. Later that day, I met her. I was in the cafe across from the office, going through the motions. Emails, coffee, fake meetings, when she sat across from me, like we'd planned it. You're not Jason, she said. I looked up slowly. Her face didn't look surprised. Just tired? Neither are you, I replied. She smiled, bitter and tired. It's always the same, isn't it? First comes the dissonance, then the notebook, then the mirror starts fixing itself. How long? I asked. 5 years, maybe, she said. At least, from my perspective. Time's weird in the overflow? What is it? I asked. Overflow is where the extra versions go, she said. The ones that aren't supposed to be awake. Most dreams evaporate when you wake up. But if you remember them too clearly, they leave a trace. That trace needs somewhere to go. That's this. So we're not real? I asked. Real enough to suffer, she said. Real enough to watch your original self keep living without you. I leaned in. How many of us are there? Too many. Most of us forget. Some accept it. Some try to claw their way back. She slid a folded paper toward me. If you want answers, go here tonight. But you might wish you hadn't. Then she stood up and left without another word. I didn't even get her name. The address led to an apartment building on the edge of the city. No lights in any windows. A broken elevator, peeling paint, a hallway that smelled like old copper and damp. I climbed to the 5th floor, apartment 5C. The door was already open. Inside, candles lit the space in uneven waves. Shadows danced over the walls. There were 6 people sitting on the floor in a circle. They all turned when I entered. One of them stood. "Welcome to the Echo Room," he said. "You're in the in-between. Not dead, not dreaming, not awake. You're a copy that didn't dissolve." Each of them told me their story. A man who remembered dying in a car crash, but then woke up here. A woman who saw her double raise her children. One who wrote horror fiction and realized everything he wrote came from this place. "Overflow is like memory foam," one of them said. "It holds the shape of lives too long, and when it can't forget, it loops. And if you wake up in a loop, you stay." I asked the question I shouldn't have. "How do I get out?" One of them laughed. Another one looked away. "You don't," said the man in the center. "But sometimes a door opens." "Then what?" I asked. "Then something else takes your place. You swap. You overwrite. But that door only opens once." "What happens to the one who gets kicked out?" "They go deeper." Back home, I stared at the mirror again. Jason's face looked back. I raised one hand. So did he. Perfect sync. Then he smiled on his own. I didn't. And just for a second, I felt a pull, like the image wanted to trade places. I didn't sleep that night. Or maybe I did, and just never noticed the transition. That's what the others in the Echo Room warned me about. How sleep here doesn't work like sleep. It bleeds into reality, overlays it. You never know when you've crossed. I started noticing distortions, glitches. The apartment hallway stretched a few inches longer. The coffee shop outside lost its name, just a blank sign. People spoke to me like they'd been programmed to improvise, always the same cadence, same jokes, same stares that went one beat too long. I walked through Jason's routine like a puppet in a loop, but I wasn't alone inside anymore. The mirror wasn't just reflecting, it was tracking. A week passed, maybe more. I kept going back to the Echo Room. It wasn't always there. Sometimes apartment 5C was a storage unit. Once it was an elevator shaft full of smoke. Only when I focused, fully, like forcing yourself awake inside a dream, did the door appear again. Each time I entered, more people were there. New faces. All lost versions. Some quiet, some broken. One man never spoke but kept scratching words into the floor. "My body is still breathing." I asked them what the endgame was. One woman, eyes glassy, said, "To stop being echoes." Another said, "To remember enough to anchor yourself back." But one guy, older, twitchy, hands like claws, whispered, "To take someone else's anchor." I didn't like that. They talked about the mirror moments, the instant when your reflection stops following you for just a split second, when the system breaks sync. That's the signal. That's the weak point. But you only get one. What happens if you miss it? Then you fade. I asked what fading meant. One of them reached into their bag, pulled out a small handheld mirror, held it up. Their reflection was gone. Just a smudge of fog, like breath on glass. That's what I've become, they said. Still here, but not visible. Not enough of me left to hold the shape. They said I still had time. I still had weight. You remember your name? Yeah. You remember your hands? Your habits? Some of them. Then you can still push through. But I wasn't sure I wanted to anymore. Jason's life was stable, predictable, no pain, no history that haunted me, just neutral comfort. But that's the trap, right? Familiarity is sedative, and the longer I stayed, the more I stopped resisting. I stopped checking my reflection, stopped meeting echoes. Until one night, I woke up on the floor, covered in sweat, breathing heavy, and saw him. Across the room, sitting in the chair, watching me. He smiled. You're starting to let go. I said nothing. He stood up, same posture, same voice. It's easier that way. What do you want? I asked. To finish what we started. You keep looking back. That's the only reason you haven't faded. I'm not fading, I said. Not yet, he replied. But you will. I walked to the mirror. Jason's face stared back neutral. You're not me, I whispered. No, he said from behind me. But you're not either. Then I saw the flicker, a glitch in the glass. My reflection didn't move when I did. It stayed still, blank-eyed, empty. Then it raised its hand, independently, not mirroring. That was it. The weak point. I touched the mirror, and it blinked. The second my fingers touched the mirror, it pulled back like water. No glass, no cold surface, just fluid space stretching inward. I didn't hesitate. I stepped in. The world inverted. The apartment vanished, replaced by a version of itself without texture. Same layout, same objects, but no depth. Like someone had rebuilt Jason's life from memory, but forgot the meaning. The walls pulsed faintly. Time had no rhythm here. It felt like standing in a held breath. I walked past frozen copies of people, his coworkers, his neighbor, the guy from the cafe. All paused mid-action, staring into nothing. Echoes, like they'd said. In the kitchen sat a child I didn't recognize. 6, maybe 7, swinging his legs from the table, eyes hollow. I asked, "Do you know where he is?" The kid didn't blink, just said, "He's trying to close the door. He doesn't want to share anymore." Who? You. Him. Both of you. You broke the pattern. I kept moving. Through the bedroom, where photographs on the wall flickered between faces. One moment me, next Jason, next no one. The mirror in that room had no reflection anymore. Just a hole, an actual absence, like someone had torn the world and stitched nothing behind it. I leaned closer, heard breathing. My own, fast, uneven like panic rising from below. Then he spoke. Too slow. He emerged from the hallway, calm, composed, just like before. My voice, my eyes, but something in his mouth twitched like it didn't belong to him. You almost did it, almost, but you hesitated. You stole everything, I said. Borrowed. You left the door open. You let me in. You're not me, aren't I? What part of you decided to stay in the overflow? What part of you got tired of trying? I stepped toward him. I'm taking it back. You can try, but you're not the only one. And I felt it. A third presence, like static under my skin. Something else had followed me in. The air warped behind him and another figure stepped out. A woman, same height, hair tied back, eyes black, bottomless, reflective. Her voice was layered, like multiple tracks playing slightly out of sync. You think this is about you too? Jason turned. Not you again. She smiled. You let me in first. You never closed my door. They weren't talking about me anymore. They were talking about before me. The cycle had been longer than I thought. I wasn't the first one overwritten. I was just the last one still aware. The woman stepped forward. This body isn't yours, not really. It's a placeholder. The house builds them. The minds inhabit them. Whoever roots deepest keeps it. Then I'll go deeper, I said. I'll burn everything if I have to. I jumped, tackled Jason through the mirror. We fell backward through light, through flashes of memories. His childhood, my apartment, her laugh, a car crash, fire, white noise, blank faces, hundreds of them, eyes blinking in sync. We landed hard. The real room. My original apartment. Or close enough. I looked down. My hands, my skin, mine. He gasped beside me, coughing weaker now, his face shifting, parts of it flickering like signal loss. No, he hissed. No, this was mine. But I stood, and the mirror showed me. Just me. Still. Focused. Solid. But the door behind me creaked open again, and she stepped through, smiling. I was back, but not exactly. The walls in my apartment were the same color, but the light was wrong, colder, more distant. My body felt familiar but sluggish, like my muscles were just remembering how to be mine. I stood in front of the mirror and stared. My face. Yes. But the eyes had seen too much, like memory was burned into them from 1,000 lives I didn't live. I blinked. The mirror blinked back, finally in sync. But I didn't trust it. I walked through the rooms. Everything was where it should be. Phone on the table. Mug with the chip I hated. My sketch pad on the desk, open to a page I didn't draw. It wasn't mine, but it had my signature. I checked my email. Job offers I never applied for, replied to. A half-written letter to someone named Casey. I didn't know any Casey, but the tone was mine. The phrasing, the little things I say when I'm trying not to say too much. There were groceries in the fridge I never bought. A playlist running on the TV that I would have liked, but never made. It was my life, but reauthored, revised, as if someone had been using my body like a rental. I scrolled through my photos. Most were familiar, some weren't. Images of places I hadn't visited, but they were in my phone, dated, geotagged. Me standing there, smiling, looking content. But I don't remember taking any of them. Then the first message came. A text. Glad you're back. Thought you'd locked me out for good. No number, no sender, just that. I froze. Typed back. Who is this? No reply. I checked my call history. No recent activity, except one call, placed 2 nights ago to a contact labeled Hollow. I dialed. Deadline, static. Then a whisper. Don't fall asleep yet. The mirror flickered. I stared into it. No one else there. Just me. But something was shifting. In the glass, the light was warmer, softer. My reflection moved like I expected, but then paused for just half a second too long. And in that silence, in that tiny gap, I saw her, the woman from before, watching, not copying, observing, measuring. You got your body back, she said softly, like a thought from deep inside. But you never got you back. I snapped the light off, sat down, tried to draw, to ground myself. But every time I put pen to paper, my hand drew the same symbol, a circle with a vertical slash, over and over, like the act of creation had been rewritten. That's when I remembered the notebooks, the ones from Jason's place, the warnings, the signs, the line that kept repeating. The longer you stay out, the more you're rewritten when you return. I'd stayed out too long. My anchors were breaking. I ran to the closet, grabbed an old box of journals, flipped through the pages, my handwriting, my memories, until suddenly a blank section. Whole weeks missing, not erased, just never written. Like my brain didn't know what happened in that time. My sketchbook had pages of shapes I couldn't understand. I found a list I'd written months ago. Groceries, errands, passwords. The passwords no longer worked. That night, I sat in bed staring at the ceiling. I refused to sleep. Every sound in the apartment felt artificial, like the world was buffering around me. I remembered what the echoes said. You only get one mirror moment. I used mine. I fought my way back, but now I realized something worse. The dream had expected that, had planned for it. This wasn't victory. This was containment. And I wasn't the only one inside. I didn't sleep for 3 nights. I stayed awake with the lights on, music playing, windows open to the cold. I watched the shadows move across my walls like time-lapse footage of something growing. The mirror stopped flickering, but it didn't feel right. It was too still, too obedient, like it was waiting. I kept testing reality, tapping my fingers, repeating phrases, writing notes to myself. I'd draw a line on the wall and check if it was still there an hour later. So far, everything stayed in place. But the feeling didn't leave. That crawling sense that something was off, too symmetrical, too responsive, like the dream wasn't over, just watching. The fourth night, I fell asleep without meaning to. One blink, one breath too slow. I woke up somewhere else. Familiar room, familiar light. But this time, there were voices, software layered, whispering in unison. I couldn't understand the words, but they were around me, circling like wind. I stood and walked through the apartment. Everything was in the right place, but none of it had weight. My feet made no sound. My breath didn't fog the mirror. The calendar had no dates. I picked up the phone and held it to my ear. Static. Then a voice. You're not alone in here. I dropped it. The mirror flashed. Jason stood behind me. Not in the room, just in the reflection. You were never the only one, he said. The overflow doesn't end when you go back. It just finds a new function. Why are you still here? I asked. Because you brought me with you. You opened the door both ways. I closed it, I said. Number you just stepped through it. You didn't seal it. The reflection shifted. Now it was the woman, then the man from the echo room, then the silent child, then me, again, but with no eyes. Each face blinked once, in sync. You're the anchor now, they said. The dream needs structure. You fought to hold your shape, so now you hold us all. I backed away. No. Yes, you're what's keeping it from dissolving. I tried to run, open the door. Behind it, my apartment. Again, identical. Same rug, same coffee table, same sounds. But one thing was different. Me, sitting on the couch, motionless. I stepped closer. The version of me looked up, smiled. We never wake up, not really. We just move deeper, layer by layer. until you're the only real thing left. I looked down at my hands. They flickered, flesh to smoke, smoke to nothing, then back. I screamed, no sound, the lights dimmed. From every wall, whispers bled through. Hold it steady. He's slipping. Someone touched my shoulder, a warm hand. I turned, Jason again, but no hostility now. Just calm. You can let go, or you can stay solid. If you stay, you'll never be alone again. And I understood. This wasn't a dream. Not anymore. It was a structure built out of forgotten versions, failed returns, fragmented minds stitched together like walls in a house that can never be finished. And someone needed to hold it all in place. That someone was me, because I remembered, because I refused to fade, and because now, every time someone else dreams too deeply, every time they look in the mirror and something doesn't blink back, every time they feel like the world is a little too well programmed, they're not dreaming, they're inside me. And I'm trying my best to hold the shape, but I'm starting to slip. So if you ever wake up and feel like someone's watching from the inside of your own skull, you're not crazy. You're not alone. You're just close enough to the echo, close enough for me to see you. And if you look in the mirror and it blinks first, run.